See. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to wasmCloud Wednesday for June 29th, 2022. We have a couple of exciting demos for you today, starting off with our very own Kevin, who should have screen sharing permissions.
Yeah, we'll see how this works. Let's see. Share. So last time I shared a terminal, I had issues where only one tab from the terminal showed up. Can you see more than one tab here? So when I switch.
Yeah, I see all of them there.
Are you on the NAT sub tab?
Nope.
Okay. I can see the text from the middle tab where you have wadm, but if you click on the NAT sub tab or something, I can't. I think it stopped sharing.
All right, let me see.
I did see all the tabs at the top. It's just whenever you click on the other one, the screen freezes, which is a little wild.
That is strange.
All right. Is there a way to just share my screen in general? Just desktop one? Wouldn't that be the, would that do it?
Yeah, that should show your whole desktop.
You can see pretty much everything then?
Yeah, you can see your terminal, and then that's pretty much all. Some code behind it.
Okay. Well, thankfully it's code that's behind there and not something embarrassing. All right, so if you saw the last time I did a demo for wadm, I basically just did a demo where I showed putting the model data and querying the model data and getting a list of the models and so on. I've made a little bit more progress than that. So first I'll fire up wadm. I've got my NAT server running, and I'm going to start a host, but I'm going to set the app label to pet clinic. That'll come in useful in short order. I've got some claims and stuff cached, but that's not that big a deal. So let's take a look at the app list. So right now I've got the pet clinic sample. It is what's going on with Zoom? Zoom, hide. All right, you can still see the terminal that I've got?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, Zoom kept popping up in front of it, so I wasn't sure if that was just something local or not. So I've got pet clinic and it's not deployed. I've got my host over here. I've got wadm running. So let's do wash app deploy. Pet clinic 0.1. And this is where I figure there's maybe a 50-50 chance between violently exploding my laptop and things working as planned. All right, so if I do an app list, you'll see that the pet clinic example is reconciling. And if I do it again, you'll see that it's reconciling. What's happening is it's going to wait for the first heartbeat that it receives and then use that heartbeat to compare the desired state of the lattice or of the application deployment with the actual state. And you can see right here, it's received 5 commands to launch actors and 2 commands to start capability provider. So if I get the deploy status, it should say now backing off, which means it has taken the actions that are necessary, that it thinks were necessary to bring that deployment up to what it should be. Right now, there's a pretty naive back off strategy where it just waits for some fixed amount of time, where during that time period, state changes in the lattice are ignored. And then after that time period, they're recompared. The main reason for that is, it takes time for actors and providers to start. So we don't want to compare the state while it's still trying to make changes to the last comparison that it made. So while I've been talking, it went from backing off to idle. So if I do get hosts, I'll look at hosts. And then I'll get an inventory here. And there we go. You've got all of the pet clinic actors and both of the capability providers required for pet clinic. And, if I scroll up in here, you'll see somewhere around here, there's the, you can see the provider starting on port 3000. Anyway, that's not really all that important. But the important business is that when I do an app list, you can now see pet clinic. If it's idle, that means that since the last heartbeat, it has determined that there's no actions necessary. Obviously, there's a mountain of room for improvement here, and this is just sort of the first implementation to get things out the door. The goal is to keep iterating from here, but yeah, I can now use wadm to deploy pet clinic, which is pretty huge. I'm just going to pause here in case there's any questions. So if you want me to run certain commands or poke and prod and show you what's going on, I'm more than happy to. Brooks.
Yeah, I have a couple of different things, but I'll start with maybe the one that I'm most curious about. I know that when you did wash app list, the pet clinic app was already there. Yep. What does that look like? Like, what did you have to do to get that pet clinic app there? And then what does that actual app look like?
So to push it, I call wash app put. And I think I did this during a previous demo, but pet clinic, let's see. So here's the pet clinic YAML file. Should look fairly similar to the wadm demo stuff that we've had before, but you can see I want the UI actor, and I've said that I want 1 replicas, and it must be on a host that has the app equals pet clinic key value pair. Customers, same thing. I'm going to start this actor, but you'll see I've got a link definition here. The target is Postgres, which is the name of the provider as it exists in the file. So if you're used to manually configuring link defs with wash, you know that you have to go and look up the public key of the capability provider and the public key of the actor, and then you have to figure out the contract, and then inevitably the first time you try and run wash, you've got the actor and the provider IDs in the wrong order. It's difficult. So this just makes it super easy, where right on the customer that I want to link, I just define the link def, and the target refers to another capability provider in this file. This is the LinkDef configuration. And again, the spread scaler says that I want one replica spread across my pet clinic servers or pet clinic hosts. Same thing with vets. This one has LinkDef also for the pet clinic database. Spread scaler, again, one across all pet clinic hosts. And this is pretty flexible. So if I wanted, to spread the vets actor, or probably more common is I might spread the clinic API actor. I might say that I want, 4 replicas. And if I do 4 replicas and spread equals pet clinic, then it will try and find 4 places to put it. If there's only one host, that one host will get 4 of them. If there are 4 hosts, those 4 hosts will get an even spread of that actor. Same thing works for providers, where, if I want the HTTP server running on each of my hosts, I can do that. If I want the Postgres provider running on each of my hosts, I can do that. The only real difference between the way the spread scaler works on providers versus actors is you can only have one instance of a provider link name combo on any wasmCloud host. So it takes that into account. So if I tried to run an auction and there were insufficient resources, when I would then when running the the deployment, I would see errors come out where right now the deployment status doesn't switch to error or fail, but that's generally the plan, is that once, if I don't have enough resources to satisfy the app spec, then that'll put the deployment into an error state. And let's see, I can get the pet clinic history. You can see it's currently deployed, and I created it on June 25th. If I were to change the version number and put a new one, that would just go into the model store, and then I could choose to deploy the other one. And I may have mentioned this in the last one, but if I put a new version in the model store and then I deploy the new version, all the previously deployed version becomes undeployed. And then rather than taking down all the resources, waiting for it to calm down, and then bringing back up the resources for the new one, we just compare the new one's desired state against the current state of the lattice and only reconcile on those differences. So if version 0.2 wanted 3 instances of an actor and 0.1 wanted 1 instance of an actor, then deploying that new deployment instance would just start 2 new actors, and that's it.
So this agent or wadm is kind of continually running and monitoring state. It's not just a one-time deploy.
Right. If this model is deployed, then it is continually monitoring states. If I undeploy pet clinic, note I didn't have to specify a version, because you can only have one version of a thing deployed at any given time. I should be able to go over here. We'll see some stuff. Yeah, this is actually not the sorry, I'm trying to get around the Zoom UI. In here, yeah, you'll see, there it is, stopping deployment monitor for pet clinic. And then this, of course, is likely going to explode everything. if I redeploy Pet Clinic, if this works correctly, it should just do nothing because the desired state already matches the expected state. So it starts off in reconciling, and then it waits for the first heartbeat. And then after the first heartbeat, it will decide whether it needs to do anything. And if it doesn't need to do anything, then it will go from reconciling to idle. And the reconciliation back off period is currently it's like 40 seconds. Like I said, that's kind of a naive implementation. Yeah, I may not actually. If it has no action to take, I may not actually set it to idle. You know, like I said, this stuff's all experimental and early stages, but you get the idea. Yeah, the one thing that I wanted you to see is that the host got no new requests for anything. So the stuff that was already there is there, and so we're good to go.
That's pretty awesome. I feel like I could ask a couple more questions, but I'll stay quiet and let other people ask some things.
Kevin, this is amazing. So quick question. So if you wanted 2 more instances of an actor, you would create a new OAM with a new version and then put that and then deploy it again, or yeah, okay.
Think that particular model should seem familiar for those of us who've suffered through Kubernetes, where you just go in, you modify your deployment manifest to what you want the new state to be, and then put it. And yeah, like you said, the workflow here would be I increase the number of instances, I bump the version number, put it into the model store, and then deploy the new version, and then the reconciler will kick in after the next heartbeat.
Great. Amazing.
For anyone who hasn't heard of it, because I hadn't until we used it for this, what is OAM?
OAM is open application model, and all it really is a very loose structure for defining an application in YAML. Microsoft, I believe it was originally it's an open standard. It was spearheaded by Microsoft, and it kind of came from the fact that Kubernetes had so many different YAML files with so many different formats. People wanted a little bit more standard way of being able to parse and generate those files. So it doesn't, the fact that it is OAM doesn't really have that much impact on wadm. It's just by convention, that's what we settled on, just to make it more familiar and easier to write. And one other thing I wanted to point out, which is it's probably not obvious since I only have one deployment running, but when I run multiple deployments, wadm will essentially claim the resources associated with one deployment and with another. And so when it goes to scale up or down or increase and decrease instances, it will do so without deleting or stopping actors from somebody else's deployment. So the scenario you can imagine is if the pet clinic deployment wants to reduce the number of UI actors, but the Brooks deployment wants to increase the number of actors. If we didn't have a way of uniquely labeling the stuff that belongs to the Brooks deployment versus the stuff that belongs to the pet clinic deployment, the reconcilers would basically argue with each other every heartbeat, and you'd see the actor count constantly going up and down and up and down. This way, with all of these resources being labeled as part of a deployment, the reconcilers won't fight.
Right. So you could have the same actor deployed independently of wadm to the host, and wadm wouldn't touch it.
That's correct. So I could manually start a UI actor on a host for whatever reason, and then I go and deploy the pet clinic app. Even if the UI actor is already running, it's not running as part of the pet clinic app. So the pet clinic app will start a new one.
That's great. Does that work already? And it's updating. So can we? I'm pushing you to do it now.
What's that?
Can we edit that file and put the new version up?
All right. Let's just. What could possibly go wrong, right? All right. All right. So right now, let's say I want 2 replicas of the UI UI actor.
Yeah.
So let me get back over to Wash. Sorry about all the weird directory stuff. It's just the official version of Wash doesn't have any of this stuff in it yet. So, all right. So Wash app put. All right, so you see Pet Clinic 2 stored, app list. The latest version is 002. It's not currently deployed. So I will deploy, let's do history real quick on Pet Clinic. So you can see I've got 002 and 001, neither are deployed. Then I will deploy Pet Clinic 002. And then I do not want to terminate that. That was close. So if I do app list, you'll see app clinic 002 is currently in reconciling mode, and heartbeats are every 30 seconds. So let's see. Wait until maybe like number 841 before I give up. I've never tried this before. So
sorry.
I literally got the single happy path working just a few minutes before the demo. So yeah, we're still in reconciling there.
You're amongst friends, don't worry.
Yeah, it looks like I more than likely my state machine is just missed an edge case. So
no, we get the idea though. I mean, it's great. Amazing. Yep. I think that's exactly the way it should work, because that will work really well with GitOps.
Yep, that's the idea.
Yeah.
The whole plan for this is, while it's usable by humans, what we really want it to be is usable in automation scenarios too. So that way you can just declaratively run wash app put and then wash app deploy and be guaranteed that the version you put and the version you deployed is going to be out there.
Question, is this always going to be an optional part of wasmCloud, or will it ever be required
Never
for
be
wasmCloud?
it will never be required. If you want this, all you have to do is start up wadm on the same NATS infrastructure that you're running your wasmCloud hosts, and you just get it for free. But there are, aside from a couple of things to make the hosts control interface accept annotations and things like that, the host doesn't know what wadm is. The wasmCloud host doesn't know what wadm is or that it exists. wadm is designed specifically to be an opt-in thing where if you want it in your infrastructure, you can start it.
Yeah, that's great from a security perspective as well, because you wouldn't want it to be built into each host, or so that it's there whether you want it or not, because that could be exploited, right?
Yeah, and part of another motivation behind this particular way of having it opt-in is with wadm not being part of the host, that essentially means that wadm works regardless of what host runtime is up. As long as the host runtime is responding to the control interface, it can be controlled by wadm, which means that this design of wadm will work on the OTP host, it'll work on the JavaScript host when we finish that, it'll work on a micro host when we finish that, and so on.
I was going to ask something somewhat similar to that, which is like, it's not running alongside the host. You would only need one wadm to multiple. If you're running 10 different wasmCloud hosts, you don't run 10 wadm agents. You just run one. It controls each one.
Yeah,
Okay.
you run one wadm. You run wadm once in your infrastructure. It supports managing app deployments on multiple lattices at any given time. So you can run wadm in multi-tenant mode, or if you have, like if you're segmenting your lattices for any number of reasons, you can still use the same instance of wadm to do that management. And wadm is also beam clusterable, so you can start 5 instances of wadm and they will all be failover, fault tolerant, resilient, and you'll still get the same behavior. So maybe next time what I'll do, I think you've seen me just demo the failover behavior before, but like I can start a deployment monitor on node 1, kill node 1, and you'll see that same deployment monitor restart on node 2 immediately.
I think this sounds like a perfect blog post once this makes it out into a wash version and a wadm thing. Like seeing an architecture diagram of this and then walking through the instructions, I think this is going to be a really exciting one.
Yeah, this is a huge milestone.
All right, any other questions for Kevin on wadm or declarative deployments or anything else fun? All right. I kind of feel like I probably should have gone first because my demo is a lot less exciting than the wadm stuff, but it should still be fun.
It's
I'll
all
share it.
exciting.
What?
I said, it's all exciting.
Yeah, it is all exciting. So what I wanted to share is just a quick preview. You all are trusted community members here on the call, so you get all the cool sneak previews of stuff that's coming out. I'm going to be releasing a blog post a little bit later this week, and I won't go all the way through this now. I just wanted to like show it, but it's going to be all around NATs and NGS and how you can set up leaf nodes so that you can extend the NATs global service for wasmCloud hosts. This is something that we've known and we've been using for our demos. Like, for example, if you saw the demo that Taylor and I did at KubeCon EU, this was all using NGS so that we can run wasmCloud hosts across a bunch of different cloud providers or regions or wherever and just kind of seamlessly connect them. I really wanted to write up the instructions for how to get this set up just from start to finish, because it really does not involve very much. I mean, including like giant screenshots of the NGS page and formatting this as a PDF just to show you, which is awful. It only takes up a couple of pages. Like, all of this stuff is really not difficult to set up. So I wanted to show that off. So that should be coming, that'll be coming a little bit later this week, this NGS blog post, so look out for that. To give you what I wanted to do for the demo today is just show off the actor, because we work on the wasmCloud platform, and us at Cosmonic are working on Cosmonic as well, like a lot of platform stuff, and I find it really fun just to dive into like finding a business need or like a little task to do and writing it in an actor. So I wrote a little example actor called dogs and cats. And if you take a look at the code here, it is an actor that receives HTTP requests and makes HTTP requests. So the business logic for it is, only a couple of lines here, minus a single deserializer. But we create an HTTP client, we generate a random number between 0 and 1. And if it's 0, we get a cat. And if it's 1, you get a dog picture. And then we make a request. This is all using, there's 2 public APIs that will just give you random images of cats and dogs, which is great, and then return it as an HTTP response. So I deployed that locally, got my dogs and cats actor, HTTP server, and HTTP client. These are just both the latest versions from wasmCloud. And I set up a little listener, and look at this. If you hit refresh over and over, you just get random images of cats and dogs, maybe slightly biased towards cats. Oh, both. Dog. So, I mean, I don't know. This one was just kind of, it's fun to, oh no, I broke it for a second. This one's just fun to, it's fun to actually just get down and write a little example or actually use the actor frameworks. So I wanted to show this one off, and I actually have this set up over NGS right now. I was doing some testing for the blog. So I have another host that's actually running in GCP. So if I want to do something like take the HTTP client and run that in GCP instead, I can totally remove it from my local host, start it in GCP, and then come back, and we keep getting pictures of dogs and cats, even though it's not running on local. So that's just kind of a sneak preview of what you all will get to do as you run through these instructions. We've been really excited about the blogs that we've been putting out thus far, and it's pretty exciting to put out some of these things that really makes us like wonder if this is just black magic when you're doing things over NGS. And so I'm really interested in seeing what you all think of it. Happy to answer any questions about the demo that I kind of just went through, but I just wanted to show off dogs and cats because that's a fun one. This example will be in the examples repository too, so you can take a look at it no matter what. I think Justin, I know that you had an interest at one time about NGS setup. Did you actually get that set up on your own? I know that we were talking about it a little bit in Slack.
I think between COVID and some of the stuff we've got going on with the family, I just haven't had a whole lot of time. I'm double dipping right now even.
Yeah, no, of course. I know that was, I think, probably a month or two ago that we were talking about. It was a little while ago, so I was just curious. And of course, we appreciate you being here.
I'm looking forward to I like the blog posts. I think anything that makes that onboarding process slick is solid, although I know you guys have been building big foundational blocks at the same time. So I'm pretty patient because I see what's happening.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, that was all that I had for demos that I knew about. We got about 20 minutes left, and I have a couple of community things that I wanted to bring up. Does anybody else have any short or like 5-minute demos? All righty. So just real quick, I wanted to share one RFC. We kind of talked about this in a previous wasmCloud meeting, and I finally got to write it up. We have a couple of things that are coming in, and likely many more that will come in over the next couple of months and years for capability provider implementations that are provided by, well, you, the community. And so we really wanted to have a way to highlight these capability providers as soon as it's there and viable. It's exciting to be able to show these things off. And then eventually, depending on what the service is and the bandwidth of the wasmCloud team, we love to kind of take these and promote them as like official capability providers that we distribute. Things like the file system provider that Matt Brorson is PRing into our capability providers repo. Those kind of things we would love to show off as first party providers. We can help with the management we would be spearheading the management and the upgrading of them. And so I wanted to write up an RFC to kind of solidify some of the details because we had some questions there. So I would love it if anybody has any thoughts to check this out, see if you have any additional feedback. I think a lot of what we agree on so far is that it would be great in the capability providers repo if we have down here, we have our capability providers that we officially support, to also have a community provider section. This is the first step for showing off things, in your own repository. Like I know that Matt Gilbride is working on, and I think finished the key value implementation for DynamoDB. That'd be a great thing to have here. And then, eventually move them up in the list. I think what we really want to figure out is what's the criteria for something that we want to support officially. It would, if you look at some of the services we already support, HTTP server and HTTP client are pretty standard implementations. We make heavy use of a real key value provider and a real SQL DB provider. So it would want to be like a common service that people use pretty often. So really interested if anybody has any thoughts on this RFC. It's just in the wasmCloud repo. Anybody have anything they wanted to bring up for this? Any feedback? All right. Obviously it's always open for comments there. And then one other RFC that I wanted to bring up today, Matt Wilkinson, you actually wrote and are on the call today. Yay. But you kind of started going through, and I think you presented a little bit of some options that we'd like to see in a wash or wasmcloud.toml file that kind of comes with the actors and capability providers. For example, that would basically let wash replace some of the makefile components. And you know, what I can see for a long time for us is not completely replacing the makefile components. We'd like this to be completely backwards compatible. There's no harm in including both, but we'd love to have some workflows where we can do something like wash build that will build your actor with the language toolchain and then sign it automatically. And then things like wash run that will automatically run the actor in a wasmCloud host, things like that. We're looking at little way of I guess little ways, but big ways to improve the developer experience. So Matt, I know you proposed this a few weeks ago, and we had a couple of discussions here. And please don't read this at all as an ask if you're like still working on this or like gonna have time to work on this. I just wanted to see if you had anything additional that you wanted to say or anything anything that you had thought of in the past couple of weeks, because I think that this will be something that's important for, we're doing some open source road mapping for wasmCloud, and we want to include some of the feedback here.
Yeah, for sure. I don't have too much additional to add to it right now. There's a lot of stuff on there. If people want to comment, leave their perspectives and things, please go ahead. I've been kind of experimenting with it a little bit in my own like wash repo, but honestly, I hadn't had that much time the past couple of weeks. But I was hoping to kind of work on that this kind of end of this week and the weekend, kind of tear into it a bit more and just basically use like, I think it was the config crate with Rust to just kind of quickly parse the tonal file, and then for initial concept, even just use the call out to the makefile and have that work. The project makefiles, I guess. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at with that right now. If people want to leave comments on their thoughts, please go ahead.
Awesome. Well, Matt, I'll probably ping you then to see what kind of work you've done, if you pushed anything up to a fork or whatever, and we can maybe we can do like a pairing on this for the first implementation. Or I feel like you normally end up picking up some awesome feature of Wash and just like sneaking a PR in on the weekend that just like blows our mind when we come in on Monday, which is pretty fun. So thank you for this.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, I'll have a couple of days off this weekend, I guess. So we'll see if I can sneak another PR in.
Nice. All right. Well, that was what I wanted to share from the community side of things. I probably should mention we had one more blog actually published to the wasmCloud site, which was over the weekend or a little earlier this week. Kevin, do you want to say anything about the anniversary blog post?
Yeah, I guess really the only thing I want to say is that I feel really old. That's about it. There's a bunch of reflections in there, but I think the really mind-blowing part is that we've been doing wasmCloud for 3 years and we're just getting started, and we have a ton of really cool things that we're still planning on doing. So yeah, it's even after 3 years, we're barely getting started.
Justin was calling out in the chat the good old Waxasuit logo.
Yeah, I love that little robot.
It's good because Kevin, I think you have a little stack of those stickers, don't you? So I mean, those are going to be worth a lot someday.
I do. Yeah, I'm going to take pictures of them and sell NFTs.
Come on, man. wasmCloud is a dope logo. I mean, it looks like a box. It looks like a W. It looks like a castle. I mean, I really like our logo. Not that, the old R2D2 ripoff wasn't great. I'm only teasing. That's what Capital One said it was.
I'm sorry, that's not an R2D2 ripoff. That is inspired by the old Disney movie, The Black Hole. There are floating robots that are basically sphere-shaped. If you haven't
I'm
seen,
sorry, I don't know what that is.
you haven't seen The Black Hole? Wow.
I don't believe that I have.
Yeah, that should be on everyone's mandatory streaming list.
Right, coming soon, RFC into wasmCloud of prerequisite movies that you must watch in order to get all the references around wasmCloud.
Yeah, the wasmCloud host will quiz you on the required movies, and if you fail that quiz, it won't start.
Yeah, no disparaging the new logo or anything. It's like a nostalgia, you know, looking back.
Richard wanted to know about the transition between Rust and Elixir. So I guess probably maybe the first place to start there would be the blog post that Brooks just highlighted. And then we have an architectural decision record specifically covering that decision. So probably does a better job of explaining it than I can off the cuff.
Sweet, awesome, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, totally would recommend the blog post for the journey. Kevin, it looks like that RFC for moving the dispatch layer to OTP is actually just an RFC in the wasmCloud repo, and it's not in our ADR. We should probably get that moved over. I think that's a significant enough one.
Yes, I'm not sure how that fell through the cracks. It should definitely be in the ADR, but we can, we'll move the RFC to an ADR, and then we'll get some more acronyms.
Yeah, it's probably just a 3-letter acronym change and then done.
Yep.
Awesome. I remember that one, which was good. I'm glad I didn't forget it. Thinking of other things in the WASM community. We had a great time at open source conference, and by we I mean not me, Liam and Taylor. I think had a great time at the open source summit last week. Looking forward to doing some more. Liam, are there any high level things that you wanted to mention from open source summit?
Only that it was great to see all the folks that showed up at an open source summit. That was it was a little lightly attended compared to years past. We think typically would see 5,000 to 7,000, and one had about 1,200. We are all excited about Detroit, and we'll be out in Detroit in force. On the Cosmonic side anyway. Certainly out representing wasmCloud. And as always, if anybody from the community wants to volunteer for KubeCon EU, we had folks show up and volunteer and work the booth. We should have a wasmCloud project booth as well as a nice big Cosmonic booth out for KubeCon US. So not too early to start planning for folks that want to come out and
Yeah, cool. Thank you, Liam. And I know that you're driving, so thanks for.
I'm actually in Walgreens right now, so I'm not, but it's I'm traveling.
Yeah, it's probably good that you're not driving in a Walgreens though. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions about all the fun stuff today, or any more announcements from a wasmCloud community perspective, or even a broader WASM community? All right. Well, with 5 minutes to spare, I'll go ahead and stop recording. We can all hang out and do our weekly awesome topic right after the recording stops, or just kind of hang out. That'll work too. But thanks everybody for coming. See you next week.